The original Persona 3 was a good game loved by many, but over the years people wanted to see it get a remake. Well, after many pleas and surveys, we finally got Persona 3 Reload. Does it live up to expectations? Well, let's dive into it. When the original came out in 2006, it was seen as a breakout in the series. The one that launched the Persona games has its own identity. While 1 and 2 are good, 3 was the beginning of it showing up on people's radar. The series originally started as a spin-off from the SMT games. It is interesting looking back at how the series was, but then Persona was the one that brought it to the mainstream. With the original, it started development in 2004, fast forward to 2006/2007, and the game came out to a lot of praise. People either liked it or loved it despite the issues the game had. It speaks volumes because some of the issues the game had were pretty wild. The big thing is the fact that you cannot control your party, despite previous SMT games letting you do so. This being said, something that kept players going was the art style, story, and the music. In the end, it landed good. A little bit after this, we then got Persona 3 FES, which was an enhanced edition of the original. It had some fixes, but the most important thing was it had the answer known as episode Aigis in Japan, and that epilogue focusing on the events after the journey. Then after this, we had Persona 3 Portable, which was on the PSP. A lot of games at the time usually got a port to a handheld, so Persona 3 was another one on the list. This port, however, was more visual novel based and had enhanced combat controls. But the biggest thing by far was the fact that you could play as a female protag, aka Kotone. Kotone's route had different stuff like different social links, different weapons to use, new side content, and more. Plus, Kotone herself is really cool. Years passed, of all the Persona 3 casts would be in side games like Arena and Q, it wasn't until the dancing game where interest was starting to pick up on a remake. With Persona 5's success, a new take would be interesting to see. Over the years, Atlus would send surveys, and at the top of the most requested, Persona 3 Remake would be there. It got fans wondering if it would legit happen. Well, the answer to that question would finally happen at the 2023 Xbox Showcase, where we saw a teaser for Persona 3 Reload. As one who honestly didn't think it would happen, I was shocked that it actually happened. The trailer played and it looked amazing. Seeing the graphics and seeing the characters' expressions already made me think this was going to be really good. It's very rare for me to keep up with all the trailers as they usually come out, because usually I avoid them, but I had to for this one. When they released the character-specific trailers, it took me back to the Persona 5 ones. During the build-up to release, we had gotten information on what the remake will have. Being original on PS2, a lot of the usual things will be here, like graphics being converted to HD, a new voice cast, remix soundtrack, and more. They went in and got every Social Link event voiced over. This means Reload has the most voice acting in a Persona game at this point. It won't shock me if a new mainline entry surpassed, but even still, this is proof that a lot of production went into this remake. The game came out February 2nd, 2024, and it was very successful. It brought in new fans to P3's world while also bringing back old ones to try out a new take on the game. That is the main behind the scenes of the game. The game itself is a turn-based RPG where you have two sides, one where you go to school and use free time to do whatever you want, and the other where you go into Tartarus and fight the shadows as you climb to the top. Even though this game is a remake, it serves as a good entry point for the series, and you don't have to worry about playing the other Persona games before starting here. This is a good starting point. The story of the game starts off with you playing as the protag known as Makoto Yuki. In the game, you can technically pick your name, but the default name shown is this. You start by moving into the dorm in the city, this being Tatsumi Port Island. Though during the intro cutscene there is some strange things going on. You then get introduced to Yukari and Mitsuru. The following day, you go with Yukari to Gekukan High School. Along with running around taking in some sights, you find your class is the same one as Yukari's. Then once the day is done, you get introduced to Junpei. As the first few days go on, you get introduced to other interesting things, but it's the full moon that has the big event. While Makoto is trying to sleep, the others realize that a giant shadow is attacking. While Mitsuru and Akihiko go through the front, Makoto and Yukari go to the rooftop where, you already know what's about to go down. Oh yes, to summon a Persona, you have to use an evoker, which is always wild to see. One must also have the potential in order to do this. Then he takes out the remaining ones before falling unconscious. Soon after, he is then recruited by C's, and they start to explore the Dark Hour, a hidden hour of the day. But more importantly, they begin the trek of Tartarus, a giant tower that only shows up during the Dark Hour. It also happens to replace the school. The main gimmick, however, is that as the days move on, the group realizes that they have to defeat all 12 shadows that appear on a full moon, which happens once a month. This is the setup for Persona 3. Going back to this plot after all these years was a joy. The atmosphere I remember capturing me with intrigue when I first played it, and it still does that even during this remake. I cannot deny there are some parts where the story, mainly the writing, can seem a bit off, but the overall message and theme is amazing. At the time when the original came out, this was a huge overhaul for the series. There was no calendar system until Persona 3, and I love that a huge part of this is making the most of time. It's brilliant. Combine that with the atmosphere I just mentioned, and you have some really cool stuff. So while I think writing-wise there are some troubles here and there, the overall story is great and it's well worth it. Seeing these characters as well was great. Getting to hear the new cast was also good. I know some were worried with the change, but I feel they did amazing stuff. And overall, just having more interactions voice goes a long way for the presentation. Characters are a big thing in these games. Trying to find your favorite and getting a connection is always important. It's good stuff. Also, it should be noted that they brought back the answer from the PS2 version, this time as a DLC with the title Episode Aegis. This takes place as an epilogue of sorts. Just wanted to mention this. Now let's get into the gameplay of Reload. We have two sides of the gameplay, one being the combat in Tartarus, the other being the social links and stat increasing. Let's start off with the social links. In Persona 3, you get to make relationships with various people that you meet throughout the game, like classmates, people at bars, and more. It's very important to get as many as you can, as these can help with making personas for battling. When you rank up a social link, you get more experience gained when fusing personas of that arcana. If the social link is maxed out, then you can fuse a very strong persona from said arcana. Usually these ones are considered the best in the game. Seeing an arcana at 10 with fusing persona is always nice, especially since you get a lot of skills from the fusion. The social links themselves have a bit to them. For some, you have to have a stat at a certain level, then you can start it. Throughout, you will get some answers which you could choose, and depending on your choice, it can make the social link go faster or slower. The reason this is important is because you are technically on a time limit in this game, as it's only a year. If you aren't going for 100% social link completion, then this doesn't matter that much. But it's good to get as much as you can since it helps out in the combat. Another thing is if you have the persona of that social link's arcana in your inventory. This actually plays a part, as if you say the right answer, you get more points. An infinity system, as they say. The big improvement with the social links is that you can see them on the map. You can see where they are and if they're going to level up the next time you talk to them. Plus, they might reach out to say they want to hang out. There is also the social stats. These are important as certain stuff is locked out if you don't have it at a certain threshold. And this is not only the social links, you can't even do certain activities. Like if you want to go to the club, nope, can't do it unless you have courage increased. This raises the question on how do I get stats increased? Well, there are many activities one can do. There is a good amount of them in the daytime and nighttime. Some of them require yen, which is the courage to use, so remember that. You can only do one in the afternoon and one in the evening. As an example, you can do a social link in the afternoon, then it switches to the evening, where you can do a stat raise or go to Tartarus or whatever. It follows this formula basically the whole game where you only have so much time. That may sound rough, but it's pretty good overall. Now, the stats themselves have different activities in order to increase them. An example can be drinking tea to increase charm, or playing karaoke to increase courage. You might even get prompts in class. This sort of stuff you have to do many times in order to max out those stats. Plus, some social links may require something else in order to do them, like getting first place in exams or doing other links to unlock more of them. Again, it might seem rough at first, but once you get a flow going, it's pretty nice. And on a New Game Plus run, your social stats carry over, so you wouldn't even have to worry about that. On a side note, I am glad there are more options now at night. Before, the only place you could go at night was Polonia Mall, and I thought that was really funny. Just this one spot with everything you need. But this time you have more than one spot, which is good. Something new in Reload is the link episodes. They are limited time, so these ones are important to do. Doing these allow you to get really strong personas, and more time with teammates is good. You can also spend time on the rooftop with teammates. Growing stuff on the rooftop will give you health items, along with increasing your bond with teammates. Plus, we have the characteristics, but we will get to that later. When you look at it, it's a balance with the stat boosting and social links. You want to get the stats to find new ones, but also want to do ones that are easier to find. Honestly, I am just glad they made this easier to do. You get more free time in certain parts, which is nice. At the mall, you can also get equipment and items. This leads into the combat of the game. Most of the game, you'll be exploring Tartarus during the dark hour. It's a big tower with many floors, with the objective being to get to the top. Tartarus is a randomly generated floor dungeon. Every time you explore, the layout will be different. It's also based on story progression. It's divided into blocks, each one having a new aesthetic and updated theme song. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it, the Tartarus exploring theme is one of my favorites. It's really good. It's an area where you can do requests for Elizabeth, who is the Velvet Room attendant in this game. These can vary from fusing a certain persona, defeating a number of shadows, and more. Some of these are really good, and I highly recommend you do as many as you can. Something else Liz might inform you about are the missing people. At certain times, you have to rescue people in Tartarus. If you don't, then you miss out on rewards. Some people that end up lost could even be social links. This you can find on the board at the mall. Let's get to the floors themselves. With the floors, you have enemies, items, and stairs to find. The enemies, of course, is the main fighting of the game. Items are stuff to help you out, and stairs lead you to the next floor of the tower. When it comes to exploring Tartarus, they put a lot more into it this time. Before, it was just going around, finding the stairs, or finding the device to take you back to the main entrance. While that is still the same, more variables have been added. You see pillars that can be smashed for loot. Sometimes when you enter a new floor, it's very dark and vision is obstructed, so you have to be careful. Some floors start with a greedy shadow attacking and you give pursuit. If you catch them, you can fight them to get the items. You might enter a new floor and a random door appears? Yes, these are new. These are the monad doors. You enter it, beat whatever shadows await, then get the treasure. Something of note is that if you're on a floor where these doors appear, then you go to the next floor, you can't enter through these doors because they lock. This is something I did not realize until I randomly checked. So it's kind of an all or nothing if you see them. But speaking of monad, when you get to the top of an area and you can't progress any further, you find a monad passage which you can do. This is an optional gauntlet that you fight, and when you beat it, just like the doors, you get a lot of treasure and really nice experience. Something you get when running around are the Twilight fragments. With these fragments, you can open up locked chests. These you can find on floors or outside of Tartarus. The amount required is always indicated when you go up to it, or if you see how many slots it has. It might seem like at certain points these fragments are tough to come by, but you would be amazed how many you can get when you open up these chests. You might hear the floor rumbling. This is because a great clock spawns. These are used to bring party members' levels up, but it's a little strange because it doesn't happen right away. You have to go back and get them in your party, do a fight, then they level up. I know what they were going for with this, the rotating your party deal, but coming off of Persona 5, where there is a dedicated perk to just swapping them out during combat, yeah, you notice it. Plus, if it were not for this mechanic in Reload, backup party members would not get experience, which blows my mind. I know, they want you to rotate party members, but again, it just comes off as strange. At least you don't have to worry about the fatigue system, that has been removed. But that is the exploring of Tartarus, getting to the top where you activate the device, while fighting shadows and getting experience to prepare for the full moon. When you get to a part you cannot go further, you know you have made it for now. There is more factors, but I will let you find those out. The last thing I will say is, golden hands are very good for leveling. Now with the set, let's get into the combat. Before you even start a fight, you actually see the shadow wandering around. If you can stealth behind and hit it, you get an advantage on them. Though be careful as enemies can get the advantage on you. Once you're in combat, the main objective is to take out all the shadows, but there's more depth than that. Many shadows have weakness you could use to help out. If you find the weakness, you can knock them down and do an all-out attack for big damage. There are a lot of elements in the game. First, we have the 3 physical elements, slash, strike, and pierce, all of them having various moves. Then we have the magic elements, like fire, ice, lightning, and wind. We also have the usual instant death ones like Hama and Mudo, but one addition they added in was damage skills for those elements. So if instant death skills are not working, you can use the damage ones instead. Nice feature they took from P5. It's great as some shadows may have more than one weakness. The most important part about that is the main pro tag has the ability of switching between personas. So if you're currently using a persona that is using fire, but the enemy is weak to ice, no problem. If you have an ice persona in your inventory and it's your turn, you can switch over to it. Also, I have to add that in earlier games when you switched a persona, if you did it by accident, you couldn't switch back. Here it's fixed. Nice thing they added there. With the spells, they get stronger as the game progresses. At the start you have Agi, which is the lowest fire spell, but then you get Agidine, which is a strong fire spell. But that is just one example of elements. Even support spells get stronger. An example like Tarakaja, which increases attack for one person. Later on you get Mata Tarakaja, which increases attack for all party members. And do I need to remind on how great Mind/Power Charge is? The answer is, it's really good and I recommend it. A mechanic inspired by the baton pass in P5 is the shift mechanic. Whenever you hit an enemy's weakness or get a critical hit and they get knocked down, you can shift to another party member. This can have many uses. Say you knock down a shadow but don't have the weakness to another one, you can shift to a party member that does and they can knock it down, which can lead to an all-out attack. And the more you knock down, the more times you can shift. One part with the SP, however, is the more magic you use, the more SP gets drained. Whenever you're going through the tower, you want to keep check of your SP. Last thing you would want is to get to a boss floor with no SP. Another new mechanic in the game is the Theurgy system. This is something that unlocks once you're a few months in the game. Also, you get new drift, which is awesome. Theurgy is a strong move you could do. Everyone has a different way of filling up the gauge faster. Some fill it up faster after landing a critical hit, some after hitting an enemy with an ailment, and so on and so forth. You can actually check this out in the party tab in the menu. The main thing is once the meter is full, you can do the move. These moves range from doing massive damage, healing the party, or giving out buffs. It's all great stuff, and having the system helps vary the fighting. These moves can also be used at any time once you have the meter filled, so you don't have to use it right away. A key part with Theurgy is the character characteristics. Once Theurgy is unlocked, you can also unlock this for party members. These are perks that help out in combat. For Yukari, her healing moves get reduced SP the more you hang out with her. This icon is indicated when you are in the dorm. Listen, all I'm going to say is these characteristics are something else. You can get some amazing things out of these. Other stuff you can do in combat is scanning for enemies' weaknesses. You can also block enemy attacks. Yeah, this is a big one as Persona 3 on PS2 had no blocking at all. When blocking, it reduces damage, and you won't get knocked down if an enemy hits your weakness. So this was a big thing to be improved on. One more thing you can do is use items. These can range from healing, getting rid of effects, or doing damage on enemies. Something Reload added on was the shuffle time. Oh yes, shuffle time. Something you either loved or hated if you played on PS2. After battles, you may get presented with this. Here's just collecting which cards you want. Each card has a different gimmick on it. It could be getting a new persona, or getting more experience, or getting more money from the battle. The Arcana bonus is something new. Anytime you see Arcana cards, it's usually ideal to get them as you get a good effect. As the story goes on, you obtain more Arcana cards. Some of the later cards are really good, so I recommend them. And once you get an Arcana card, it stays until you leave Tartarus. This is good because if you get enough Arcana cards in one visit, you get the Arcana Burst effect, which means the minor Arcana cards get increased by 1. Yeah, those rank things are always awesome to see get higher as the game progresses. That is the main combat of the game, but a key part to all this is the Persona Fusion. Personas you can get after battles, but Fusion is a reliable way to get them as well. Fusions work where you take one persona and fuse it with another, or you can do advanced fusions where it's 3 or more. Having ones around your level will help during fights as you can get more skills and it's easier to fight. Sometimes when you fuse personas, certain skills may have something happen to it. You can allow this change, or you can avert it. Another way you can get skills is persona cards. Throughout the game you'll get cards that have spells on them. You could use these cards on a persona so it gets that skill. These are really good, it could help with inheriting moves from one persona to another. Inheriting moves is a key part of Fusion. Just like other games, the compendium is here where you can register, store, and get personas. Getting them here does require yen, so keep watch on that. Let's move on to the soundtrack of the game. They went in and remixed every track from the PS2 version, and it's really good. I know some have thoughts on which ones were remixed better than others, but overall this soundtrack is really good. A great thing they did was they added in a few new tracks. The opening is new, but the two that everybody talks about is It's Going Down Now and Color Your Night. Both of them are top tier. When I played Persona 3 on PS2, it was just before Persona 5 came out, and it was almost perfect timing for me. It was at the end of high school, and it connected with me so much. I mean, it's one of the few games I actually showed to my family, so you know it must have been good, right? You can imagine how happy I was when I saw that the remake was announced, because it brought back all those memories of when I played it on PS2. I understand when some say they want more in certain parts, which honestly I do agree with, but looking at it, I am just glad we got it and it's good stuff. I am grateful we got to see them return. Thank you all for watching the video. If you like this video and want to see more, check out the other videos on the channel. Thank you for watching.